"You have been chosen to join our ranks," he said. "We offer wealth, power, and influence. But in return, you must abide by our covenant. You are forbidden from marriage or bearing children. Breaking this oath will come at a great cost." Adanne began getting bags of money from people she had never seen before. They will come in the night, knock on her door to drop the big bags of cash in front of her, and disappear into thin air. Adanne was born into a life of poverty so deep that it was the main characteristic of her family's existence. Her parents, Nathan and Amanda, were hardworking but struggling individuals living in the bustling city of Onitsha, Anambra State. Their home was a small one-room apartment with peeling paint and a leaking roof. Despite their struggles, they tried to create a loving environment for Adanne, their only child. Nathan worked as a street vendor, pushing a collapsing wheelbarrow filled with roasted plantains and groundnuts through the crowded streets. On the other hand, Amanda hawked oranges and bananas from street to street, often balancing a heavy tray on her head for hours. Their combined income was barely enough to feed the family, let alone pay for rent or miscellaneous bills. On days when sales were low, the family resorted to begging, a humiliating and downgrading experience that exposed them to the scorn of strangers. Adanne, even as a young girl, understood how serious her family's struggles were. She often followed her mother to the market, helping to sell fruits or carry heavy loads. Despite the hardships, she harbored dreams of a better life. She wanted to attend school, become a doctor, and lift her family from poverty. But those dreams seemed very hard to accomplish, almost impossible, as the daily grind of survival swallowed the hopes of her family. The humiliation of begging was a constant reminder of their plight. "Mama, why do people look at us like that?" Adanne once asked, her innocent eyes filled with confusion. Amanda, struggling to hold back tears, replied, "My dear, one day, we will rise above this. You will make us proud." Those words stayed with Adanne and formed a light of hope even in the hard circumstances. One fateful evening, as Nathan and Amanda returned home after a long day of work, a speeding bus swayed off the road and into the crowded sidewalk. The sound of screeching tires, shouts, and a loud crash filled the air. Adanne, waiting for her parents in their tiny room, felt her heart drop when a neighbor rushed in with the news. "Adanne, your parents have been in an accident. They are at the hospital," the neighbor shouted. Adanne ran barefoot to the hospital, her heart pounding with fear. She found her parents lying on stretchers in the emergency room, their bodies battered and bruised. The doctors informed her that both of them required urgent surgery to survive. "We can't proceed without a deposit," the nurse said curtly, her tone devoid of sympathy. Adanne pleaded with the hospital staff, tears streaming down her face. She ran to neighbors and shop owners, begging for money, but no one could spare enough to cover the bills. "Please, save my parents. I'll do anything," she cried, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. Days passed, and Nathan's condition worsened. Amanda, despite her pain, whispered to her daughter, "Be strong, Adanne. Never give up." Both parents succumbed to their injuries after 2 weeks in the hospital without the necessary treatments. Adanne was left to collect their few belongings and walk back to their empty room, her heart shattered. The grief was overwhelming, but the harsh reality of life gave her no time to mourn. She was now alone in the world, an orphan with no one to turn to. Life as an orphan was a harsh and unpleasant journey for Adanne. Her landlord had sent her packing out of the house when she couldn't meet up with the rent. She was forced to sleep under bridges and on market stalls. Hunger became her constant companion and pushed her to the brink of desperation. She searched for leftover food in dustbins and relied on the occasional kindness of strangers. Determined to survive, Adanne took up menial jobs. She began by selling fruit on the streets, placing the heaving trays of oranges on her head as she weaved through traffic, calling out to potential customers. Her tiny profits barely kept her fed, but she refused to give up. She later found work as a housemaid, cleaning and cooking for wealthier families. Some employers treated her with kindness, offering her food and clothes, while others exploited her, making her work long hours without proper compensation. One employer, a woman named Madam Kechi, was particularly cruel. She often scolded Adanne for minor mistakes and delayed her salary. One day, after a long and grueling day of work, Adanne sat on the floor of the kitchen, tears streaming down her face. "God, is this my life?" she whispered. But even in her hopelessness, a fire burned within her. She was determined to change her circumstances, no matter the cost. Adanne's determination grew stronger with each passing day. She began saving small amounts of money, dreaming of a future where she could escape the cycle of poverty. Though the road ahead was uncertain, she held on to the hope that one day, she would rise above her struggles and build a life her parents would have been proud of. Years of hardened poverty had worn Adanne down. Every day felt like a battle for survival, with no sign of improvement. She woke up hungry and spent her days working tirelessly, only to return to her space under the bridge at night with nothing to show for her efforts. The dreams she once had of a better life seemed like distant memories, and desperation slowly began to take hold. One fateful evening, as Adanne sat under the bridge, staring at the distant lights of the bustling city, she couldn't hold back her tears. "Is this all my life will ever be?" she whispered to herself. Just as she was lost in thought, a sleek black car pulled up in front of her. A woman dressed in expensive clothes stepped out, her aura radiating confidence and power. "Adanne, is this you?" "It's been years," the woman said with a smile. It was Ifeoma, a childhood friend who had once shared in Adanne's struggles. But the woman standing before her now was unrecognizable. She was wealthy, glamorous, and successful. Ifeoma sat beside Adanne and listened to her story. "I've been where you are," Ifeoma said. "But I found a way out. You can too, if you're willing to take risks." Adanne's curiosity clicked. She pressed Ifeoma for details, and after some hesitation, Ifeoma revealed the existence of a secret group that could change Adanne's life forever. "They helped me, Adanne. You just have to be ready to commit," she said. Adanne fought with the idea for days. The fear of the unknown clashed with her desperation for a better life. In the end, her desire for freedom from poverty won. She agreed to meet the people Ifeoma had spoken about. The meeting was held in a private mansion on the outskirts of the city. As Adanne entered, she was met with a very thick silence. The room was dimly lit, with flickering candles casting shadows on the walls. Men and women dressed in black robes stood in a circle. At the center stood a man with an authoritative presence. The leader of the group addressed Adanne. "You have been chosen to join our ranks," he said. "We offer wealth, power, and influence. But in return, you must abide by our covenant. You are forbidden from marriage or bearing children. Breaking this oath will come at a great cost." Adanne's heart raced as she considered the gravity of the decision before her. The thought of never having a family weighed heavily on her, but the promise of escaping poverty was too enticing to resist. She nodded in agreement. The initiation ritual was unlike anything Adanne had ever experienced. She was blindfolded and led into a chamber filled with chants, whispers, and demonic sounds. Her hands were cut, and her blood was mixed with that of other members in a symbolic gesture of unity. The leader placed a golden ring on her finger, signifying her acceptance into the group. "From this day forward, your life will never be the same," the leader declared. Adanne felt a mix of fear and anticipation as she stepped into her new reality. The transformation was immediate. Adanne began getting bags of money from people she had never seen before. They would come in the night, knock on her door to drop the big bags of cash in front of her, and disappear into thin air. She moved into a luxurious apartment, complete with designer furniture and a breathtaking view of the city skyline. Her days of hunger and struggle were over. Adanne wasted no time building her empire. She started a chain of successful businesses, including fashion boutiques and real estate ventures. Her name became synonymous with success, and people flocked to her for business partnerships. She traveled to exotic destinations like Dubai and Paris, indulging in the finest luxuries life had to offer. Despite her newfound wealth, Adanne couldn't shake a sense of emptiness. Her lavish parties were attended by the city's elite, but she often found herself retreating to her room, longing for something more. The covenant she had made weighed heavily on her, and the absence of a family left a void that no amount of money could fill. Adanne's friend Ifeoma noticed her growing discontent. "You have everything, Adanne. Why do you seem so unhappy?" she asked. Adanne forced a smile. "I have everything money can buy," she replied. "But sometimes, I wonder if I gave up too much." The loneliness became Adanne's constant companion. She began to question whether the wealth she had gained was worth the sacrifices she had made. Little did she know, her decision to test the boundaries of the covenant would soon change her life in ways she couldn't imagine. Adanne's life of wealth and influence did little to fill the emptiness in her heart. She had gotten everything she once thought would bring her happiness: luxurious homes, thriving businesses, designer clothes, and access to the world's finest luxuries. Yet, when the parties ended and the rooms fell silent, she was alone. The taboo against marriage and children began to eat away her soul. Against the warnings of the court, Adanne decided to test the boundaries of her covenant. She convinced herself that maybe, just maybe, the restrictions were fake. Her longing for companionship became unbearable, and she hungered for love and family, things no wealth could ever buy. Adanne's first attempt at love came in the form of Emeka, a gentle and ambitious entrepreneur she met at a charity gala. Emeka was captivated by Adanne's beauty and charm, and their connection was instant. They began a whirlwind romance that seemed almost too good to be true. But as their relationship deepened, Adanne struggled with whether to tell him the truth about her covenant. She decided to keep it a secret, hoping against hope that the curse was nothing more than superstition. 3 days after their first night together, Emeka fell gravely ill. Doctors were baffled, unable to diagnose his condition. After 4 days in the hospital fighting the unknown sickness, he passed away, leaving Adanne devastated and guilty. She tried to convince herself it was a coincidence, but deep down, she knew better. Despite the heartbreak, Adanne's loneliness drove her to try again. Her second relationship was with Chike, a charming lawyer who swept her off her feet with his wit and kindness. Chike's love for Adanne was pure, and for a moment, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of happiness. This time, for 2 months of their intimate relationship, nothing happened to them. Adanne was surprised and felt she finally won against the superstition from the court. But the curse struck again. One fateful day, after a day out in a hotel, Chike succumbed to an unexplained illness. The illness started from a swollen stomach. He went for several medical tests in different hospitals, but none could find the cause of his illness. Chike was taken to different churches for special prayers and even spent days fasting and praying, but none of these worked out. Adanne was left to mourn yet another man she cared deeply for, as Chike gave up the ghost after weeks of this strange illness. Even after all this tragedy with all the men she has had any relationship with, Adanne wasn't ready to give up on getting married and finding a solution to the condition given to her by the cult she entered. Desperate to free herself from the curse, Adanne turned to religion. She visited countless churches, fasting and praying for days on end. Each pastor and prophet assured her of deliverance, performing elaborate rituals and offering words of hope. But despite their efforts, the covenant remained unbroken. At one church, a prophetess told Adanne, "Your wealth is tied to blood. Until you renounce everything you gained, the curse will persist." The thought of losing everything she had worked so hard to achieve terrified her. How would she survive without her wealth? Could she endure poverty again? Adanne's fear deepened with each failed attempt at deliverance. Her dreams were haunted by the faces of the men who had died because of her, and the weight of their deaths pressed heavily on her conscience. She began to believe the covenant was unbreakable, that she was destined to live a life of loneliness and sorrow. Just when Adanne had resigned herself to her fate, she met Obinna. It was at a business conference where Adanne was a keynote speaker. Obinna, a humanitarian and founder of a non-profit organization, was in the audience. He was struck by Adanne's eloquence and beauty, but what captivated him most was the sadness in her eyes. After the conference, Obinna approached Adanne. "You spoke beautifully," he said, offering her a warm smile. "But I sense there's more to your story than you're sharing." Adanne was taken aback by his directness but found his sincerity disarming. They exchanged numbers, and over the following weeks, they began to spend more time together. Obinna's kindness and determination stood in stark contrast to the superficial relationships Adanne had grown accustomed to. He wasn't interested in her wealth or status, he simply wanted to know her. Despite her growing feelings for Obinna, Adanne tried to distance herself. She was terrified of what might happen if they became too close. "You deserve someone who can give you a normal life," she told him one evening. But Obinna was undeterred. "Normal is overrated," he replied with a chuckle. "I just want you, Adanne." Their bond deepened, and Adanne opened up to Obinna in ways she never had before. She told him about her childhood struggles, her parents' death, and her rise to wealth. But she couldn't bring herself to reveal the truth about the covenant. She feared that if he knew, he would leave her like everyone else. Obinna, however, sensed there was something Adanne wasn't telling him. "Whatever it is, you can trust me," he said one night as they walked along a quiet beach. Adanne looked into his eyes, filled with both fear and hope. Could he be the one to help her break free from the curse? Or would he, too, fall victim to its deadly grip? Obinna's love for Adanne grew stronger with each passing day. Despite her attempts to keep him far away, he remained persistent. He admired her intelligence, kindness, and strength, and he knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. One evening, during a candlelit dinner at a seaside restaurant, Obinna knelt down and proposed. Adanne froze. Her heart raced as she looked at the man who had brought so much light into her life. She wanted to say yes, but the memory of the curse loomed large in her mind. "Obinna," she said, her voice trembling, "I'm not sure if I'm ready for this." Obinna's face softened. "Take your time," he said. "I'll wait for as long as it takes. But know that my love for you will never change." Eventually, Adanne's love for Obinna overpowered her fears. She accepted his proposal, hoping that the curse would somehow spare him. But her worst fears came true after their first intimate night together. Obinna fell gravely ill, his once vibrant demeanor replaced by weakness and pale skin. Doctors were unable to diagnose his condition, and he spent 2 months in the hospital, fighting between life and death. Adanne was covered with guilt. She stayed by his bedside, praying for his recovery and blaming herself for his suffering. When Obinna finally began to recover, she knew she couldn't keep the truth from him any longer. One evening, as he rested at home, she sat by his side and told him everything: the cult, the covenant, and the deaths of the men who had come before him. Obinna listened quietly as Adanne poured out her heart. When she was done, tears streaming down her face, she braced herself for his reaction. To her surprise, he reached for her hand and said, "We'll get through this together." Adanne couldn't believe his response. "You don't understand," she said. "This curse is real. I don't want to lose you." Obinna's grip on her hand tightened. "I'm not going anywhere," he said firmly. "We'll find a way to break this curse, no matter what it takes." Not everyone shared Obina's optimism. Lillian, Adanne's closest friend, tried to intervene. "Obina, you don't understand what you're getting into," she said. "This isn't just a story. Men have died because of this." But Obina refused to be swayed. "I love Adanne," he said. "And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to protect her and our future together." Determined to break the curse, Obina and Adanne sought the help of a powerful traditional priest known for his ability to resolve the most complex spiritual problems. The journey to his remote village was long and difficult, but their hope kept them going. When they arrived, the priest listened carefully to their story. He nodded slowly and said, "This is a powerful covenant, but it is not unbreakable. However, breaking it will require great sacrifice." The priest outlined the steps they needed to take. The rituals were intricate and required immense commitment. They would need to renounce the wealth Adanne had gained through the cult, offer a significant sacrifice, and undergo a cleansing process that would test their faith and resilience. Adanne and Obina agreed without hesitation. The priest began the process, leading them through days of prayers and rituals in the sacred forest. Adanne was required to burn several of her most prized possessions as a symbol of her willingness to let go of her ill-gotten gains. Obina supported her every step of the way, proving his love and determination to see them through. The rituals culminated in a final ceremony under the light of a full moon. The priest chanted incantations, calling on the gods to lift the curse and grant the couple a chance at a new beginning. As the ceremony concluded, the priest declared that the gods had accepted their sacrifice. Exhausted but hopeful, Adanne and Obina left the village, ready to start their lives anew. They knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in years, Adanne felt a sense of freedom and peace. The priest's instructions for breaking the covenant were clear but overwhelming. "You must give back what you have gained through the curse," he explained. "The wealth, the influence, and the life you built from the covenant must be surrendered. Only then can the gods be appeased." Adanne's heart sank. Her wealth had been her shield from the poverty and humiliation she once endured. It was her security, her proof of survival against the odds. Now, she was being asked to part with it all. The priest's gaze was stern. "The gods demand balance. To break the covenant, you must sacrifice." Adanne and Obina accepted the priest's words. They had come too far to turn back now. The first step of the ritual required them to renounce her ill-gotten gains. Adanne began by selling off her properties, her fleet of cars, and her thriving businesses. The proceeds were donated to orphanages, schools, and hospitals, a symbolic act of giving back to the community. Next, the priest instructed Adanne to burn personal items that represented her wealth and attachments to materialism. In the clearing of a sacred forest, Adanne placed her designer clothes, jewelry, and prized possessions on a makeshift altar. As the flames consumed the items, she felt a deep sense of loss but also an inexplicable sense of release. "This is just the beginning," the priest warned. The next phase involved intense spiritual cleansing. Adanne and Obina were required to fast for 7 days and nights, abstaining from food, water, and even conversation. During this time, they were to focus solely on prayers and chants provided by the priest. The fast tested their physical and emotional endurance. Adanne often felt faint, her body weak from hunger and exhaustion. But each time she thought of giving up, Obina's steady presence gave her strength. "We are in this together," he reminded her, holding her hand as they knelt before the altar. The final step of the ritual was the offering of a blood sacrifice. The priest brought a pure white goat, symbolic of innocence and renewal. As the goat was sacrificed, the priest chanted incantations, invoking the gods to lift the curse and grant Adanne and Obina a new beginning. The atmosphere was electric, the air thick with an unexplainable energy. As the ceremony reached its climax, the priest declared, "The gods have heard your plea. The curse is lifted." A sudden gust of wind swept through the forest, extinguishing the ceremonial fire. Adanne and Obinna fell to their knees, overwhelmed by a mix of exhaustion, relief, and gratitude. With the curse broken, Adanne and Obinna began the next chapter of their lives. They planned a wedding, not in grandeur, but with the simplicity that reflected their renewed values. The ceremony was held in a small church, adorned with flowers handpicked from nearby gardens. It was attended by their closest friends and family, all of whom were overjoyed to witness the union. Adanne's childhood friend Lillian, who had been skeptical of Obinna's determination, gave an emotional toast. "I never thought I'd see this day," she said. "Adanne, you've shown us the true meaning of resilience. And Obinna, your love and faith have inspired us all." The couple exchanged vows under the watchful eyes of their loved ones. Adanne's voice trembled as she promised to love and support Obinna through every challenge. Obinna, in turn, vowed to stand by her side, no matter what trials they might face. Their words carried the weight of their journey, a testament to the love that had brought them through unimaginable trials. The reception was filled with joy and laughter. Guests danced to traditional music, their colorful attire creating a vibrant tapestry of celebration. Adanne and Obinna joined in, their faces glowing with happiness. For the first time in years, Adanne felt at peace. The shadow of the curse was gone, replaced by the warmth of love and hope. A few months after the wedding, Adanne began to feel unwell. At first, everyone was scared and thought the curse wasn't lifted. But when the symptoms persisted, Obinna urged her to see a doctor. The news they received was beyond their wildest dreams. Adanne was pregnant. The couple's joy was immeasurable. After years of loneliness and loss, Adanne was finally going to have a family of her own. She spent her pregnancy filled with gratitude, cherishing every moment as a gift. When their son was born, they named him Nathan, after Adanne's late father. It was a tribute to the man whose resilience and love had shaped her own. Nathan's arrival marked a new chapter in their lives. Adanne and Obinna poured their energy into building a life rooted in love, honesty, and community. They started a small business together, focusing on empowering others who had faced hardships. Adanne also became a mentor to young women, sharing her story as both a cautionary tale and an inspiration. The couple's journey became a beacon of hope for their community. People marveled at how Adanne, once an orphan struggling to survive, had transformed her life through love and determination. "Your story gives us hope," a young woman told Adanne one day. "If you can overcome so much, maybe we can too." As Adanne watched her son take his first steps, she reflected on her journey. The world she had once thought was everything now seemed insignificant compared to the love and family she had gained. "This is true worth," she thought, holding Chidi close. Adanne and Obinna's story became a legacy of redemption and resilience. Together, they built a life filled with meaning and joy, proving that even the darkest chapters can lead to the brightest endings. And as they sat together on their porch, watching the sunset with Chidi playing at their feet, they knew they had finally found the happiness they had fought so hard for.